Welcome back to Garage 512, everybody. So thank you for pushing play, and thank you for coming back to the channel, and thank you for subscribing. Today's video is going to be kind of educational for me because I don't know the answer to this question. The purpose of the video is going to be to see if by increasing the quantity of ethanol, do I increase octane enough to add timing and thus increase my horsepower and torque. So it's going to be a two-part video. Part one is going to be me taking a trip up to San Antonio to visit VP Racing's headquarters. Because I didn't want to wait for them to ship to their suppliers here, which could take a week or two. So I decided to go ahead and head up there. It's only an hour and a half. So head up there, pick up the X98, which they tell me is the best thing to add to pump E85 to bring up the ethanol content. Okay, that's part one. Part two is going to be me driving up to Victoria because I'm not changing very many variables here. I'm going to use the same dyno that I, dynoed back in, what was it, February 21st. I made 633 to the tires. Okay, so it's going to be a warm day. I know, because that was February. But so that's going to be one variable that's changed. But one variable that's not going to change is the dyno. So I'm using the same dyno. The DA is going to probably be a little different. But bottom line, I'm using the same dyno. So part two is going to be driving up to Victoria, adding some X98 just before I get there to bring up the ethanol content, right? And then put it on the dyno and see if Pat can increase the timing enough to bring up the horsepower. Now, I don't expect to make a whole lot of horsepower, if at all, just because I know the DA and it's going to be warm. So I don't know how much timing, if at all, can be added. I do know from my own research that pump E85 is about 104 octane, and I know that the ethanol content of X98 is basically pure ethanol. I just don't know how much that's going to bring up the ethanol or the octane. The octane is supposed to be for X98 112, I believe. So I'll throw that up here. But you add those two together, I should be averaging about 108. So 4 points higher than pump E85. The question is, does that give me enough octane to boost up the timing? We'll find out. So stay tuned. Let's get in the car and head up to San Antonio first, and then we'll finish this thing off with a trip to Victoria and see what's what. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to Garage 512. So I drove all the way out to San Antonio, which is where the headquarters is for VP Racing. The reason is because I wanted to get a couple of gallons, two 5-gallon drums of X98. I do have some X85, but they suggested, meaning VP suggested, that if I'm going to mix that with the pump E85, the X98 is the best additive to bring up the quantity of the octane. So I drove out here because it was going to take a week or two to have the suppliers that are in Austin to receive it, and I decided I didn't want to wait. So here I am. There I was. So my plan is to do a dyno video with the horsepower torque increases from running X98. I have found out from PATG that my tune is capable of digesting and processing E89. Okay, so I know from experience that my car's E85 gauge, even with the good stuff at Tech Ridge and Mueller, is about 74-75% actual ethanol. Forget what that test tube said. It ain't right. So that said, what was suggested, and Pat, I talked to Pat about this as well, is I want to add basically half of X98 to my tank, whatever it is. So if I've got 20 gallons, then I would be adding 10 gallons, although that really wouldn't work quite that way because I'd be overfilling, right? So my plan is to, when I go for a dyno run with this, I'll be running like 10 gallons of pump E85, and then I'll add 5 gallons of the VP X98, and then we'll see what my gauge tells me is my ultimate ethanol content, and then that'll give us some real good numbers to go on. That's the plan. Stay tuned for more details. All right, so today's the day. So we are going to head back up to Victoria, Texas, using the same dyno. Like I said, dynos are great measuring tools for testing mods, right? So we're going to use the same dyno. So I'm going to head up to Victoria, Texas. I'm going to load up a couple of these X98, which is pure ethanol. We're going to add that to my pump E85 tank. All right, so I've got pump E85 in here. When I get to about a half a tank or so, we're going to pull off the side of the road, dump some X98 in there. I know from talking to Pat that my tune can handle up to 89% ethanol. Okay, so we're going to add enough of this to the tank. I've got an ethanol gauge in my car, so we'll wait and see till it gets to 89, 90%, and then we're going to head up to Victoria, Texas, put it on the dyno, and see how much horsepower and torque my car has picked up as a result of increasing the ethanol content. So if you've been interested to know whether or not adding additional ethanol or higher grade ethanol, more quantity of ethanol, if that actually makes a difference in your horsepower, then this is the video for you. So stay tuned. Let's get in the car, head up to Victoria, do the thing, do the needful, and see how much power I made. Last time the car made 633, and that was on February 21st. The air density percentage was about 94%, I believe. I'll throw that up here. Today, as of right now, it's Saturday, it's going to be comparable. It's a little better for air density. It's about 96% air density, so a little better. By the time we get out there in the afternoon, it'll be a little warmer for sure. So we'll see what's what. But basically, they should be pretty comparable in terms of air density percentage. It's the same dyno. The only change that's being made is the X98. So let's get in the car and see how much she makes. All right, stay tuned. So we are just about a little under half a tank, and we're adding 5 gallons of X98 to the tank. And then we'll check the gauge and see where that leaves us in terms of our ethanol content. I believe it was at 72% on the way up here to Victoria. I'm just up the street from Pat's place.
I'm glad I brought 2 of these with me. I was tempted just to bring 1, because I figured half a tank of pump with 5 gallons, you know, that would be 15 gallons total. That'd be 50%, but that wasn't enough. 5 gallons and 10 gallons was not enough. Now, mind you, it may still go up once I drive the car and it gasoline or the ethanol mixes together. But my tune is capable of sporting E89. I guess even if it goes over 89%, it can't hurt. It just means I'm not going to get any extra goodness out of it. All right.
Now let's see where we're at. Warm day, I can tell you that. So was it worth it? Save your money. Let me tell you, I spent $71 on a 5 gallon drum. I got 2 of them. Okay, so I spent $142 on 10 gallons of X98, and all it did was bring me from E72. Normally that gas station is E74. But okay, I had 72% ethanol when I left Austin. I added 2 of those 5 gallon X98 drums into the tank. The first one took me from E72 to E78, and then the second 5 gallon only brought me up another 2 from 78 to 80. I don't get that math. Something's kind of weird there, but you know, that's a lot of money. That's $142 to bump the ethanol up 6 points. I get there, and yeah, okay, it's a hot day. It's 81 degrees, probably a little bit hotter. Given how hot it was compared to February 1st, I didn't expect to make any more power. But I did kind of hope and expect that we would be able to add more timing to the car because of the increased octane. So the takeaway is, it didn't increase the octane enough for me to even add any timing. You know, I was under the impression that adding more ethanol meant higher octane. Silly me. But I mean, it's a good use case and it's a good test case. That made no difference. If really that X98 was 112 octane and my pump E85 was 104, okay, there may be some fudge factors, bad batches or whatever. But, all things being equal, I should have had a bump in octane from 104 to 108, and Pat couldn't add any time into it. You know, we managed to smooth out that little dip in the power curve at about 2,500 RPM. Remember, I was saying before when I had the car tuned that my cam, because of the size of it, it gets a little lazy at 2,500 RPM. We were able to smooth that out. So he did add some timing. So Pat added some timing at that point and smoothed it out just a little bit. And you'll see the torque curve and everything now. But so it wasn't a wasted trip, but save your money. That experiment cost me. Don't let it cost you. I'm glad I did it, right? But that extra ethanol isn't really increasing the octane. At least it didn't for me. Your mileage may vary. Give it a shot, but I swear, don't go spending money on 2 5-gallon drums. If you're gonna do it and you have ethanol, flex fuel sensor and all that stuff, maybe just do 1 5-gallon drum. I added 2, and I didn't get enough goodness to justify that kind of money. But hey, I got a baseline, and this is why I went back to the same dyno, right? I had a baseline from before. I had a 633 number on a nice cool day. Even then, the air density was not great. It wasn't 100%. It was, 96% or so back then in February 21st. So, I had a baseline. It was good. That's why I went back to the same dyno. We're not doing ECC to we're not going to do ECC's dyno jet to, PATG's Mustang dyno and try to play. No. We're staying with the same dyno. So I got a good baseline. So because I got that good baseline, I can tell you this was not a good, this was not going to use some money. So that, save your money, that the VP fuel did not give me enough increase in octane to add any timing. And thus, even if it was cold, I wasn't going to gain any more power. So save your money there. But because I had the baseline, I know. And because of that, I can tell you from a health perspective, you need to get your baseline too for your PSA, right? So I had a baseline when I started my before I had prostate cancer, and I was able to track my PSAs, which is why I was able to catch that unusual spike and went to the doctor and say, hey, we need to do the needful on this. Let's dig into this a little bit more. They weren't going to just let it ride. So I saw that spike, and even though my spike was within 0 to 4, it was like a full point jump. It went from like 2 point something to 3, and I'm just 3 point something, and I'm just like, no, that's too big of a jump because that's not my norm. So always get your baselines. So I say all that to say, get your baseline for your physicals, know what your PSA numbers are, and start tracking those numbers so that you can catch that irregular spike if and when it ever happens. All right? Check that box, y'all, and stay safe.